Hello and welcome to Replay Game, the tabletop role-playing game podcast where we look at games from every side of the table. You are about to listen to an interview with game creator Marc Hobbs of Less Than 3 Games that we had an absolute delight recording. Just to get our voices on record for anybody who's new to the podcast, this is Emma. I played Epitaph and I'm going to be here in this interview. Say who you are. It's helpful for people to know.
I'm Anish, and I also played Epitaph.
I'm Tori. I played Epitaph, notably Archibald Sturgis.
And you will notice at one point during this interview a very funny moment where Tori did not know who Terry Pratchett was.
Nope.
So get ready for that. Buckle in. It's going to be a wild ride. If this is your first episode of Read Play Game, I would highly recommend listening to the Epitaph arc. But if you are just here for the interviews, then that's totally fine. Feel free to listen to any episodes that interest you and feel free to skip any that you don't gap about. If you want to tune in for more games, more interviews, and more discussion of what makes TTRPGs fun to play, then keep listening, listener. We appreciate you, and you should subscribe to our Patreon.
I will, if you subscribe, I'll read Terry Pratchett.
No, they won't.
No.
Didn't they do the art for Epitaph?
Oh, he's a dude?
Hello and welcome to this episode of Read Play Game, where we look at tabletop role-playing games from every side of the table. Today we are delighted to be joined by Marc Hobbs, the designer of Epitaph, which we just had the chance to play. Marc, we are so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time with the game. I think I kind of helped out as the person who had read the rulebook thoroughly, so I'll let Tori and Anish talk more about what it felt like to play versus me, like, nose in the books while playing.
Great. Oh my god, it was so beautiful to live out the life of, well, our departed's name was Marianne Ward. She was like a Jane Goodall figure whose main motivation was like justice in an environmental sense. We had this very interesting relationship in this fantastical world, and to think that like we built this entire world when 3 hours prior none of it existed was crazy. So yeah, it was very melancholic and beautiful at the same time.
That's all I could ask for.
My experience with it was so very positive because I call myself the personality hire of this podcast because I hate mechanics. I hate like learning the rule book. And this one just felt so imagination and creativity inspired. And I love that you act out the scenes and act out these like moments in time. So for me, it was like no notes. I loved it.
Great.
And then, Marc, could you give us a brief introduction for listeners who might not know and who haven't read the like truly excellent design notes section at the back of Epitaph of just what you do, what drew you into game design, that kind of stuff?
Sure. I'll give you a little background. I'm Marc Hobbs. Very excited to be here also. Thank you for having me. By day, I am a state government worker in Washington State. So
no way.
I do payment policy for our Department of Labor and Industries. I think it's interesting, but it's probably not very exciting for most everybody to listen to. It's not what you had me here to talk about, though I do have a lot of opinions about it. But no, game design. Yeah, I got into what I call story gaming, the kind of game that you just played, right? Back in 2010, my then girlfriend, now wife, got me into it. And this part of how we met. We met in school, but it turned out that we actually also had this shared love of this hobby. So it's adorable. And she is also a game designer. The two of us have a design business we started together, Less Than 3 Games. And the main reason we started it, honestly, is to have an avenue to put our ideas out into the world that we were coming up with. Because if you play these games for long enough, you start to get notions of, well, maybe I could make one of these. Maybe I could. And I think, I'm seeing some nods here. You might understand the feeling I'm describing, right? But honestly, like it's mostly playtime for us in, hey, we make these designs, but we're not dedicating our whole lives to making this business be the only thing we do to make money, because that's very stressful and a lot of work. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting off topic. Game design. Yeah, I was really into the story gaming scene in Seattle, where I lived from 2010 to 2012. And there was a really robust community there. We had this meetup group. We met every week. We had new players constantly. That was kind of the philosophy of the thing, was like, sit down, no prep, no GM, play a game together with people you've never met, and walk away several hours later happy that you have made a story together, and feeling like this bond of shared storytelling. So that philosophy really got baked into a lot of the way that the kind of games that I like to play and the games that I like to work on. And that's Epitaph is the result of that design philosophy.
Love the company's name too, Less Than Three. As soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm looking forward to this game.
Thank you. Yes. It's just, I mean, it's my wife and I do the thing, and so that was like we always send those little emojis to each other. And
that's
what should we call the company? Okay, yep, that's gonna be it.
It's cool too that this is like strictly a creative endeavor for y'all and not trying to be a source of monetization, because we had somebody bring up the point. It's important, for us as friends too, like to play these games off a podcast and do it for just like the connection and fun of it, without there being this like expectation that it's consumed or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hearing about y'all getting started, we always love to hear about the playtesting process. I know you had mentioned having like strangers come and play it. At what point did y'all bring in other people, or is it like, tell me about the timeline? Yeah,
I'd love to. And I'm going to cheat a little because I know I wrote about it in the book itself at the back, and so I have to remember what the heck I was doing. Right. Okay. So yeah, and for those who do end up getting the book or the PDF, this information is in there again. But basically, I love the art. By the way, we can talk about that too.
We have a question about the art.
Sure. So this game was actually a very early design that I had come up with. This unfinished business was what I was calling it at the time. And that game turned out to be extremely different than what you ultimately played, Epitaph. Unrecognizably different, like a totally different premise, totally different concepts. But the fundamental idea of you're playing somebody's life and there's kind of this exploration of what happened to them in their life, that is the core that stayed. Everything else kind of changed. But in terms of playtesting, because I put that idea down for like 8 years or something and picked it back up, it was starting fresh. Basically, when I made Epitaph, it was kind of a brand new concept. And the way that I do playtesting is very iterative. I will play a game, I will red ink out half of the text that I made and half the materials as I play it the first few times. But then when I play it and I make just a couple tweaks and then I play it and I just like, oh, this one word here, this was confusing, move it here, add a paragraph. By the time I'm playing it and I'm not really changing anything anymore, that's when it's ready for other people to go out and do playtests on their own. And it is really, really important to have people you don't know or don't know very well run the game without you there. Because I think a design mistake that people sometimes make is to always be the one running their game at the table. And you will explain much better the things that are not clear in your rules if you're there. And you don't even realize you're doing it, So playing from the text, having somebody who isn't you run it, really, really important steps.
I'm wondering, those moments of like clarity in playtesting when it's like, oh, that's a thing that I actually need to be more clear on. One of the items that you're because there's also a lot of space to move in with Epitaph. Like there is a lot of breathing room. One of the very, very clear mechanical things is the death is not a mystery, which I will say we did run into that. And like Tori asked like, oh, can it be a mysterious death? And I was like, no, it can't.
Not here.
That's
not this
like
time.
The way that the tone is for this game, we're not exploring that. I'm wondering if that was a like repeated thing that was coming up, or if that was decided pretty early in that switch from unfinished business towards Epitaph of like, we're not doing mystery.
In unfinished business, that was the fundamental premise, was that it was a mystery. That was kind of the whole game. And I know I'm selling this game a lot now more because it sounds pretty cool when I say it out loud, but I'll tell you why it doesn't work in a second. The premise of that game was that you were there was a spirit trapped in the void, and they were reliving moments of their life, and each moment that you relived would give you a little bit of insight into why were they still trapped here, and what is the business that they left unfinished. And so you're kind of compiling pieces of information to figure it out. The reason that that doesn't work, or the reason I couldn't make it work, is because when you have a mystery and you know the answer to the mystery, you can play games as the author to foreshadow, weave in clues. You know where you're going, and so everything you add can head towards that same direction. But if you have a team of people together trying to answer a mystery and nobody knows what the answer is, you run into a lot of problems where either you have to make disparate pieces of information somehow come together at the end, and it's usually a mess and it doesn't really feel very satisfying, or you don't want to step on toes, so you don't want to like commit to an answer. You're kind of like, well, it could be this, and everyone just looks at each other and is like, yeah, it could be that. And nobody wants to be the person that is like, I have to decide, yes, it was the butler that killed them. Like everybody wants to be careful about that. So if you can make it work, congratulations, you have solved a puzzle that I have been pondering for a long time, of the true mystery game that actually succeeds in that regard. Getting back to Epitaph for a second, though, you had asked, why was the death? That actually was a very early choice for the reasons I just laid out. That the game isn't really ultimately about that. And if we spend our time pondering, oh, well, what happened? Well, could it be this? Could it be that? We're not going to focus on the important parts, which is everything else. It's the rest of the story.
Yeah. And I'm still in that kind of breathing room space, because there, like, you can do so much with the setting. You can do so much with the whole life, and finding those moments of clarity. Like, it can't be a mystery. The goal is such a core concept. And the desires I found really compelling, which, just since I'm the only one who has the physical copy of the book in front of me right now, that's achievement, fame, justice, knowledge, love, and wealth. I was wondering, were those added and dropped during playtesting? Were any combined, or did they feel pretty solid from the get-go?
I think that it took a little bit of time to develop the way that you make the goal, that process of starting with a desire and then moving to a goal. The order of the steps that you do in the setup is very deliberate. And I tried it a bunch of different ways to maybe make the goal first, and then you make the person. Maybe you make the person first entirely, and then you make a goal for them. I tried a bunch of versions, and this is the one that worked the best. But kind of narrowing down to those particular words, I can't say that I remember exactly how I came to all of them, but I wanted to have a diverse enough set that it felt like you could tell different stories. And if you could even see how, if you had picked one different word, it would have radically changed the direction of your life. For example, if you have this person who's a scientist, right, and they're into vaccine development, okay, the quest for knowledge as a desire is way different than fame, or way different than wealth, right? You're gonna have a vastly different person's life just picking one word differently to frame that with. So were I to do it again, I think there's a few more words I would add, or I would also probably add some notes about combining them in a way, right? Cool. That you can have a dual purpose. It's not just that you want to be famous. Maybe there's some, there's a little more to play with there. Respect is one that I don't think is in there, that I realize now is probably would have been good, So we'll save that for the second edition.
That's
fun. Love it.
Little teaser for you.
Yeah, because we did hit a point when we were discussing, and we were like, well, we're not really sure if we're going more justice or knowledge. We're not really sure what we're going for. And we found a place where it was like, well, we can have, she's a fully realized person. She can have
right.
lots of wants, but what's the that thing at the core of it?
And it has to be one. I remember us being like, maybe it's somewhere between, and you were like,
it's the way that it's written.
Gotta be the one, which actually was really helpful to have clear parameters so that we could play in between.
One thing I want to say about that, I think, is that is also a thing that I really ascribe to the design philosophy I have and have learned over the years from other designers, that I think is really useful is that the clear bumpers, right? we can sit down at the table and just say, let's just make up a story. And everyone's like, okay, what's it about, right? And now we're playing make-believe like we were kids. The problem is that that's not very fun for grown-ups most of the time, because we have like a lot of intelligence and knowledge and want to have the bumpers are what make it fun, right? The boundaries are what make it an enjoyable experience. Like, oh, I have to operate in this box. What are the ways I can operate in this box? And it's a puzzle. And we love puzzles as adult humans. And so I think that is definitely a really big part of making these games work.
I feel the same way about bowling. The bumpers make it fun. But I totally agree, especially like when it feels like that left brain is taken care of. Because I find even in a scenario where it is kind of like, let's make pretend, I have so many brains or so many like left brain questions where it's like, well, can we this, can we that I really don't even let that right side out because I'm so stuck on making sure I understand the rules and can play within the, confines or whatnot.
Yeah, totally.
I do have a question. It just came up to my brain. We were talking about the switch from unfinished business to Epitaph, but I don't think we talked a little bit about unfinished business. I'm
Or
curious.
just like that an original spark.
That original spark of an idea. I'm always curious to ask if game designers can pinpoint a moment where they first were exploring the ideas or the themes for the games they design. And I'm curious if you had any tonal touchstones in terms of other media that you were shooting for when designing Epitaph.
Yeah. I think that to answer your question about the original concept, the unfinished business concept, which I'm looking, and while I'm answering, I'm trying to find my notes from way back. I don't even know if I have them anywhere. Where the heck were they? Anyway, I'll have to keep looking in a second. There are, I don't think I could point to a specific movie or show or book or something at this moment, but the kinds of stories I thought about were the ones where the main character is a ghost, right? The main character is dead, and they are trying to understand what has happened to them, why they are here, where their life has gone, and what it is that has kept them in this place. That was that original concept and spark back in, I guess that would have been 2010 or 2011 that I thought of it, right? The idea to turn it into Epitaph, the game that it ultimately became, was a bit of an exploration to say, like, okay, I like this idea of exploring somebody's life, of having the moments of their life be things that you look at and play out and touch in different ways. How can I make a game that actually accomplishes that and is consistently fun to play and doesn't rely on really charismatic players just using the rules and making something fun because they always will, because they're charismatic. Truth be told, the I don't think this is in the text at all, but when I started working hard again on Epitaph, it was when I also started the job that I have now at the state government, right? And I was in training for a long time. This job that I was initially hired for has like a huge training period of like classroom time at the agency. And so on my breaks, I would take walks around the campus. It's a really nice campus there, and just try to think through over and over again, like, how would I make this game? Okay, I'll get this one little part I'm trying to noodle on. And then I had this notebook that I was using to just scribble notes in all the time, and like also sometimes during the classes because they were really boring. And trying to,
we won't tell.
Don't tell anybody. But they kept me on, so I guess I learned enough. So, it was very much like, how can I make this piece work? How can I make this piece work? And gradually that expanded into a full game after a while.
I have one last developing the game playtesting question.
Yeah, totally.
That is quite specific. And then we've got some more gameplay, our experience questions. And that is the examples of desires that you gave. I really, really enjoyed for each option, and I noticed that you did a fantastic job of giving examples that fit different settings. Like each one had a kind of historical, a fantasy, and then a very grounded modern version. My favorite one is the knowledge goal, learn to play the cello as well as my father used to. I read that and I was like, oh, that's what this game is. That's great. Like, and I'm there. I was just curious, were those from playtests or were they from your brain?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Or like a mix of them.
Allow me to remember by looking at the examples that I made. Okay, so I can answer that, but I have to go on a little tangent real fast. So take you there. You're exactly correct in that this was very intentional to make examples that fit the 3 or 4 different concepts of a world that I had put in the game, right? So you have the modern, the historical, and the fantasy. And I also wanted to have fantasy includes sci-fi, right? So that's the secret fourth one. And so we developed those 4 concepts. I think I worked with my wife and possibly also the artist on thinking a little bit about what those might be like. So we have, and they're also on the back of the book. They're kind of referred to vaguely there as like the woman who opens a restaurant, and then there's the guy in the trenches in World War I, and then there's the wizard, and then there's the pirate captain, right? And each of those people gets kind of woven their examples and stories into the text, in the example text, and in those examples you referred to on the let's see, page 15, it looks like, the example goals, right? But actually, yes, some of them are from playtests that I did. The very first playtest of this game, as it was Epitaph, was about a guy named Virgil, who is the example on the like what the game is supposed to look like page. Where is it? Something or other. It's in here somewhere. And his goal was to make a cookbook, which is one of the love goals in on the example goals. I think let me see if any of these other ones just jump right back to me. The Lake Maple Summer Camp, that was one from a playtest I did.
Amass a fortune great enough to oppose the incandescent council.
Just totally made
was
up.
Interesting to me.
Absolutely
Like, that's dope.
I just grabbed words, put them together. That's it. That one's totally made up. I did not play a game with that one. Please feel free to create the incandescent council. That would be great. I mean, it sounds awesome. So yeah, I playtested this game a lot, as you can probably guess from the rather long list of credits at the end. But I also had a bunch of people who played it without me who were also in there, and some of their stuff I probably stole for the examples too. So
what's that quote? It's like all artists borrow, but great artists outright steal, or something like that.
Probably. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Shall we get into gameplay?
Yeah.
I'm curious because you had brought up sci-fi being inside fantasy. Are you drawn to one particular setting more than others? Like when you had created this, did it live in a certain genre in your mind? Like I love the fact that it could be historic, it could be realistic, or it can be in these like, made up or fantastical settings. So I didn't know what it initially started as in your mind, walking around that campus.
I think it actually probably started as the real world, as real settings. It became, because one of the challenges with using fantasy settings and sci-fi settings is you have to do extra legwork to make them at the beginning of the game, right? If you set the game in, it's the modern world, done. Okay, easy. Yeah. We can play now. If you're starting to make a fantasy or sci-fi setting, that's another 20 minutes of conversations now to have about, well, what kind of thing? Is there magic? How does it work? Is it faster than light travel, or do we use hypersleep? And like all kinds of questions that you're answering. And that could be really great. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you have to invest more time to set that up. And I think when I was the initial playtests of this game often landed in a real world setting, which I also think I think that the game works really well no matter what setting you pick, but there is a very powerful resonance to playing with the real world because it so closely resembles our own lives, and you can really like steal ideas from your life and your friends' lives to play with there. One of the playtests that I did that I found most, I don't know, it was like I could not have asked for it to go better, and it's going to sound a little sad when I say it, but like one of the players literally started crying in the middle of a scene because the scene reminded them so much of their own divorce that they were like, that the character was going through and they had gone through, and it was all the bleed. They were right in there. It was a beautiful moment for all of us. We got through it. We talked it out. Everybody was okay. It was just that using a real world setting made that connection possible for them because they saw themselves in that moment.
Yeah. And we ended up going with a more fantastical element because that was where the group, I want to play it again at home in a realistic setting. I think for the podcast, we were like, maybe we don't get there because that is, I think, such a processing grief and processing loss through this game is really compelling to me, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do on a podcast, different type of gameplay.
100%. Yeah. Private versus for public consumption versus it's just us, it's just my friends and me. We're gonna really get intense. And I had in the credits at the front there is sensitivity readers because I had two people look at a part, especially there's one section in there about like playing with oppression and diversity, and this, even since this game has come out, that topic has continued to advance, and obviously events globally and domestically have brought many of those problems to the fore. And so I think that there is a lot of room to explore those topics, gender, racism, sexism, you name it, whatever you want to do, in a way that you can add a layer of abstraction that still gets you really close to it. You can do that in fantasy also, right? You can just, now all the fantasy races have issues with each other.
Yeah.
There's your parallel. But like, no, it's just a person who was dealing with this problem, and they're a made up person, but they're kind of just like me, you can flavor it to taste, I guess is what I'm saying.
And that's the flexibility. There's so much space with the settings allows for, I think, a huge amount of like replaying this game. Actually, I think world creation games and like character creation games do a pretty good job of that in general, of like sometimes with very specific true like role play games where you inhabit characters you play them, I tend to fall into like the same arcs, and this felt so flexible since there isn't a like mechanical element of randomization. You don't like roll for decisions, you don't draw cards. I realized in playing this one, it became like a negotiation between players. You kind of like have to claim the moments that are important to you and like get them on the timeline. How is that flavoring gaming experience for you? And was that intentional, or was it more of a like make it easy for people to pick up so we're not like rolling and doing all this extra stuff?
That is a bigger question than I think you realize, because it gets back to that fundamental philosophy of who is this game for, right? And what kind of people or play experiences does this game allow you to have? And so the gaming world that I came up when I was a teenager, I played D&D with my friends, and we had a great time because we were a bunch of teen boys hanging out and cracking wise and listening to our favorite Dane Cook album on repeat because it was the early 2000s. That's just how it was back then. It was a different time. But we hung out and we played D&D, and it was fun. And one of my friends was always the GM. And it was not until years later that I'm still friends with him, thankfully, all this time later, that, he revealed to me, he's like, I was really tired of it because it was so much work,
Oh, yeah.
So much work. And you didn't bring me on here to unleash my manifesto about GM versus GMless gaming. But what I will say is that...
we could.
Right.
Good.
Okay. It's okay. What I will say about it is this, that playing games where the amount of investment, where every player comes into it with the same amount of authority, power, so to speak, that nobody feels like they are, well, I'm just a character and I'm here, and this person did all the work. I just got to go along with what they say because they did so much work to get ready for this game, or vice versa, that I feel like I don't know what I can do because I'm not allowed to do that because it's the rules. And that's just the dynamic of power at the table can be very stifling to creativity and very stifling to a lot of people trying to have a good time together. And so coming up in that later environment that I mentioned before, the story game environment in Seattle, the philosophy was 100% on, we play games that don't require anybody to have prepared ahead of time. And we play games that allow anybody to step in and just go for it. And maybe you won't have a great time every time because that's the way things work, but you don't have a great time every time, no matter what game you're playing. So I think I kind of lost the plot here. The question you asked me was about the design structure for Epitaph. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting what I'm interested in, which is that like power dynamics and negotiation of the game. And I think that it was really it like forced you to decide what was important to you. And I enjoyed that. It's again that like you're running up against the bumpers, you know, of like, I need to play out the first meeting between these two characters so that I can have like a little bit more of that like creative narration of this moment of this person's life, because it is where my focus lies, before someone else like nabs that ear.
Yeah. The moves in Epitaph were specifically designed to make that possible, but it is very much, you're right, that when it's your turn, you're presented with boundless creative opportunity to say, here's the timeline, put whatever you want on it, as long as it fits our palette we made earlier, you know, but within reason, put whatever you want on it, but you only get one chance right now. Like, pick the thing you really want to do, pick what's interesting to you. That's on purpose, because the kind of games that I enjoy playing offer that kind of creative freedom to say, when it's your turn, go nuts, and you know, really move towards stuff that you care about and that matters to you. I want to add a tidbit on that, which is that the 3 moves that you can do are very much designed to be 3 different levels of cognitive load. The snapshot is the easiest one because all you have to do is describe a moment in time. You don't have to come up with characters. You don't have to like think of what they would say. You don't have to have an action sequence of something happening to the characters. You don't have to have a resolution. You just, here is a moment. Pretend you took a picture. Here's the picture. What does it look like? That's it. That's all you have to do. A scene is the next step up in load, because now you have to think about what's the context, who is here, why is this happening, and then of course role playing. But I did leave the option open, which I don't know if you guys availed in your play or not, that the person who frames the scene doesn't actually have to be in it.
We did. We did.
Yeah. Which I thought was a little cheeky, but it is actually really fun, because you can say, you know, dance monkeys, like go play the scene for me. And then finally, the remembrance is the hardest one, because that's essentially improv at that point. It's like you are in a character, you are going to town on describing exactly what that moment was. And then the other players get a chance to contribute with the questions, but they don't have to. And so that's on purpose. Those 3 steps are supposed to be increasing in challenge. And if you played the whole game snapshots, it still works.
Yeah.
You all got really excited about that, so please.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're going to gush about this.
I love that you give that flexibility with the scenes to like open it up. We're a very role play heavy. We love to role play. We all did theater.
There's a reason you have a podcast.
We love that. Yeah. So when we did scenes, it was more of, I feel like pretty often it was someone would present a scene and then it would be the other people doing it. Like it was like casting people. Okay. But having that like mental load be shared with scenes, but with remembrance is like, no, you picked remembrance. You got to do it. Because Anish was like, I want to do a remembrance of this character. Who wants to do it? And we were like, no. You do it. Like, if you want to see it, it's on you, which is fun.
I have to gush about the remembrances. As much as like as much as it's like you're putting yourself in the hot seat, some of the most interesting developments happen when you take the focus off of the departed and move to the other people in their lives. And I'm gonna gush about ourselves for a second. There were like Hollywood level lines being dropped.
What?
Scenes?
It's the butcher. It was.
Yeah.
It was our character tripped a butcher who was chasing after an animal, and it was her brother giving a remembrance later in life.
Being interrogated by the
government. We like added that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, to this day, I don't know if it was to save the animal or to spite the butcher. I know what she would say, but I don't know if I'd believe her. And it was like, oh. And that was a guest that we brought.
Yeah.
And like
Eating us up.
that was a family member of the departed. And then we switched to just a bystander amidst like this whole conflict, like one tiny person who was like a sliver of the departed's life. And then Victoria played them excellently. And the insight these bystanders can bring into the world and just flesh them out. I don't even have a question. I was just kind of baffled.
Real fun mechanic.
Yeah. And I'm curious, when you were playtesting and developing, did you have to narrow down these three options from? Did you have other timeline options? I'm just like, wow, the talking heads portion, love that.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit of insight on that. To answer your first question, I did actually narrow it down. The original version of Epitaph had just 3 types of scenes instead. Scene. That sucked because that's all scenes. That's all you do.
That's hard, yeah.
And that's hard. Also, it was not satisfying in the way that the game is now, right? I will freely admit that the other 2 versions are probably partly borrowed from other games that I've played, and I couldn't say exactly how the snapshot came into existence other than it's very much just similar to a vignette description, which a lot of games do in either their epilogue or it's at some point in the play, you have this moment where you only describe a tiny little blip in time. But the actual concept of the snapshot thing, I kind of remember, I seem to remember thinking of it on a walk around that campus at work one day. Oh, what if you just did this thing where you had a moment and you just talk about the moment? And it kind of grew from there. The Remembrance is actually, I have to give credit to a different game for that one. I should look up who the author is. Maybe I can find it in 3 seconds while I'm describing this to you. Jared A. Sorensen. The game is called Inspectors. Inspectors. It's 2002, so it's a little aged now. It's a GM light, so it has a dungeon master or game master rather. It has some dice, character stuff, but it's not really a campaign structured game. It's Ghostbusters. It's basically Ghostbusters. The game and.
Fun.
I like that wordplay. The Spectres. That's fun.
Right. It's a great game. I really love it. You know, it's. I would say because it's from 2002, right? It's not quite as far along in the development cycle of the GM-less games that exist now, but it's still really fun. And one of the things that it has in it is the confessional as a move that you can do. And it's like once per scene or round or something, you can just like, you grab another character, like one of the other players' characters, and you put them in the confessional, and then you can like ask them a question that foreshadows the future in the story. So you'd be like, so why did you throw everybody out of the airlock? And well, that's the space version. If you're, I don't know, you're not a ghost. Why did you throw everybody into the ghost containment cell or whatever? And they have to answer, right? They have to, well, of course it was because blah, blah, blah. That's like just a move in the game you can do. I love that. I thought that was so much fun that I borrowed it entirely and incorporated into being Remembrances, which you'll maybe note in the rules if you kind of read carefully between the lines that it does not ever tell you can't ask really leading questions.
Yeah.
Good point.
Right?
Ooh.
You could just, so then how did you feel after you stabbed him in the chest with a knife, you know? And you're like, I guess I liked that. I don't know, whatever. Well, you have to just answer. I mean, because you said there is that flexibility in there. My personal take on it is, if it's not on the timeline, it didn't actually happen until it's on the timeline, right? And you can ask anybody in the person's life anything you want, but it's not locked into the fiction until we actually write it down as a lock-in. You know what I mean? So, yeah, your mileage may vary.
And really nice that you can do like the scenes of the snapshot, like. Hypothetically, you could do one snapshot
moment
and then be like, let's run that back.
Run it back over and over and over
running
again.
This back. Let's get remembrances from everybody here.
Yeah,
I thought
you
that
could.
was neat.
That could be a fascinating game if you tried to do that on purpose.
And I'm reflecting, we talked about not having a GM, meaning everybody gets authority, and the way that translated, I think, was also everybody feels a sense of ownership, because we like to laugh. We're a goofy group, and this, in my memory, I'm like the worst offender of cracking jokes in game, but also it kind of breaks the fourth wall. You know, I just like, and this I think was the only time that didn't happen.
You were pretty locked in.
We were all, I think, very like, because one, you have ownership, and then two, it's also taking place in real time. Did you think of one? Why are you?
We definitely were joking, but less than usual.
A lot less, yes. So that I thought was really important and made this a very like special experience, because I think when we said, okay, how is everybody feeling after, the word I remember is like grounded. I feel grounded.
Yeah.
Like this was something we really like had some vulnerability in, and the payoff I think was greater because of that.
That's really, really nice to hear, actually, because that's exactly what I hope the game does, is provide you a chance to be vulnerable but feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Shall we get to the art? Do you have one more about game design?
I have one more question about game design.
Yeah,
or gameplay, really. We played online.
Yes.
Which, very appreciative of the playing online section, helped. I like set up the document ahead of time, and it made it really, really easy. But I'm wondering, just because this is something that we run into a lot. We always play online. We all live in different spaces. We also all have home games that we play in person, and I feel like one of the most common things we say to each other is like, gosh, we wish we were in a room together. So again, I'm replaying this game. I'm replaying this game in a home game in real life. But what do you think we missed from the experience that like a home game could provide, like in person? Or do you think that it like translates perfectly online?
That is a really interesting question. Like you, I also have plenty of online games now. And this will be a good segue for later, so we'll put a pin in it. I have a weekly game Sunday nights with my wife, myself, and two of our friends. One of them is in Seattle and one of them is in Cape Cod. And so, it's this time zone thing. I don't know if you're all in the same time zone even, but
it varies.
It varies. Move around. Who knows where you are, where you could be any given time. But we have a weekly game that we've been playing since 2020, since COVID.
Wow.
Which also, you'll note, this game came out in 2021. That online section was developed in part because COVID. If that hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have even added it to the text. But at that time, I was playing all the games online. So I'm like, well, I should probably just do this, just talk about it. What do you miss? I mean, I don't think anything I'm going to say is going to surprise you. You miss tiny cues in body language, in facial expressions. When somebody like breathes in to talk, you can hear that when you're sitting in a room with them. And you react to it, like you don't start talking because you heard them do that, or like their face lights up. Like I'm looking, you're looking at yourself to make sure you look okay, but you're also looking at everybody else. But you can't look at everybody else at the same time.
Got me.
Gotcha. The way I immediately
look. If you're really, really good at, you'll look at the camera, right? When you're talking sometimes, and I sometimes remember to do it, but often I forget. And so eye contact, gone, right? Not a thing. Shiny things in your glasses all the time, all of us are here wearing glasses. I can see all of us having that. It's just, it is a fine experience to have playing online, but I think that the emotional depth that you can get to with other people physically in the space with you just still cannot be perfectly captured by playing remotely, no matter what you do, no matter how you try, because we just don't have, until we get like the brain implant hologram where you're all just literally like in some virtual space in your head, it's never going to be quite the same. I wouldn't say there's anything you miss out on that makes the game worse. It's just all the same things you miss out on when you're FaceTiming people versus talking to them in real life, But the pin that I put in,
please,
about the thing, one of those players, the Seattle one, is the artist that did the art for this game.
Oh my God!
Take it away.
Perfect segue. Is
So
it
what did you want
Terry
to know about
Pratchett?
No,
that's
the quote
the
at
quote.
the beginning.
That's the quote at the beginning.
I wish. No, I don't know if Terry Pratchett actually did art, now that I think about it.
Just writing, I think.
Just the writing, I think.
Just the writing.
It'd be pretty impressive if he did both.
Yeah.
Had it jotted down because it was such a great quote. I remember that was my fun fact for a couple weeks after. I was like, take a listen to this.
That quote.
Yes. And just again for the listeners, it is said that your life flashes before your eyes just before you die. That is true. It's called life. Fantastic way to start the game. Fantastic way to yes.
Yeah, we're about to talk about death, but let's just get a little laugh in here first, and then we'll get serious,
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the real art.
Okay, tell me about the real art. Tell me about the art.
Take it away, Emma Anish. Because I thought it was Terry Pratchett.
No. And you know what? That's cool. We all have different knowledge. Can I talk about my come to Epitaph story?
Please do.
Yeah.
I love scrolling, thumbing through different books at my local game store. Am I a bad person for judging books by their cover? Maybe. But I tend to think that game designers put a lot of thought into the overall themes that they're going for. I flipped to Epitaph and I didn't even have to second guess. I knew it was a game that I would enjoy. The cover is so evocative. It's so warm, and I feel like we should link a picture of it in our episode description because it's just beautiful.
You can link them to our website.
Oh, we do.
In all of them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The picture's there on the website.
All right, so click on that link, check the website out. But what was your process with working with, I suppose, your friend in striking that desired tone?
Good question. Al Lukhart is their name, they, them. And Al is a Seattle-based artist who does a lot of different kind of stuff. They work entirely on their own, doing projects for clients essentially. They're not part of a company or whatever. And yeah, the process back and forth. So at the point that where I was working on this game, I hadn't known Al that long. I mean, I know them a lot better now. We've been playing games together for 5 years, but we were friends at that time, and gosh, they were so great to work with. You're right in that the way that I thought about the art for the game is very thematic across the whole text, and coming up with the ideas for how to visually represent the absence of someone was really interesting and fun to do with Al. I really wanted to kind of have a lot of different tones of the pieces, which is why you get the overarching tone is sad because someone is dead, right? But in that you can feel, like you said, that warmth, and the cover image is really, I think, captures that perfectly, that there's this beautiful family, there's kids, there's elders, there's a whole mix, and then there's the one empty seat at the table. And that was probably the first picture that I came up with in my head of I want the empty seat to be the focal point. How can we hit it with as many spotlights as possible to be the thing you notice? And a fun fact, on the back there's some cats, and the tuxedo cat is based on my cat that we have.
What's the name? Give it up. Cute.
His name is Jacques.
Jacques, the tuxedo cat.
Yes, he didn't come and join me though. He's probably sleeping somewhere. Anywho, the remaining pieces are, as you again are already probably figured out, based on the examples, right, that I came up with. And so I kind of came up with those first, and then worked with Al to develop them further into okay, what's a piece that we can kind of make sense of the tone of this story. The fantastical wizards studio space there with the dragon egg and whatever else, and the chair and all that. The World War I trench, which is you don't even have to do okay, that's it. It's sad. You don't have to do anything else. That will be sad no matter how you slice it. Al told me recently that the one that they get the most comments on, I think, from their website or Insta or whatever the heck they're sharing stuff out, is the pirate captain one. Emma, if you happen to have a way to find it in there.
Is it this one?
Yes, it is the one with the sad pirate captain, just sad in the cabin. Apparently lesbian icon now, this captain. I don't know.
There's a broken portrait of, it looks like another woman.
It's her wife, yeah. She's the other pirate captain. She gets mentioned a bunch of times in the examples. You kind of piece it together, right? It's the deep lore of the example text. But Al told me that literally last weekend, was I get so many comments on this piece about that very topic. So I don't know. But yeah, I think developing the art, I am not myself an artist. My wife is. And she was extremely instrumental and helpful in describing and thinking about, conceptualizing, laying out. She did a ton of the layout work in the book also, because she's really talented at that stuff. So yeah. Does that answer your question? Did you have more you wanted to think about on that?
That's great.
I love hearing you mention the empty chair detail, Emma. I'm curious because Emma made the cover art that we're going to use, and it's just like an empty chair. It's like, was that on purpose?
Yeah. It's the empty chair at the table, which is different. I was thinking about it as like, I also, Anish, when you came into town and we went to the game store and we looked at it, that was somewhat recently after I had lost my father, right?
It was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it was the empty chair is so evocative. What we do for our arcs is we have like a small piece of art that we make that just has like the name of our podcast. So then it's like themed for each different game that we do. And I did like an easy chair. Like that like
therapy chair almost.
When someone has a chair that's their chair.
Yes.
Because it is, like, the empty chair is so evocative. Yeah.
That's Epitaph.
You're going to pick one symbol. I think the empty chair pretty much nails it, no matter what. And
I like that it's comfy. You know, it was like, it's not a, like, dreary empty chair. It's like a warm empty chair. I like that is true of the cover art, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, all credit to Al Lucart for all the work.
I'm looking at their website. It's awesome. Like...
This is obviously back in 2020, 2021, they did this work. They told me at the time, like some of these pieces were a real stretch for them at that time. The World War I piece was like not really like anything they'd done before. My favorite piece is the Pirate Captain, if I'm honest. I just love the color. I love the tone. I love the expression, just everything about it. It perfectly captures this really intense moment. It is like a snapshot, right? Of this moment that she is experiencing. I love all the art in the book, but if I had to pick one, that is my favorite.
That rocks. I love that y'all are friends too. That's an awesome friend to have.
Yeah, it is very helpful to have an artist friend like that. To be super, super clear, I did pay them a lot of money also.
Yeah.
Like, this was not a
collaboration.
This was a collaboration. We worked together and they got paid well. It's not just a favor.
That is a good way to treat friends, you know?
Right. Right, exactly.
A good way to keep that friendship healthy. Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure you're taken care of because we're also friends. But even if we weren't friends, I would still pay you well because you deserve it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We only have a couple minutes left.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of collabs and other people you like, is this the question you're going for?
I think we like to ask if you have any game recommendations for us to play. Yes.
I wrote down Inspectors.
Okay, yeah. Inspectors, I would say, I mean, you do you. I think Inspectors is fun. I think that it also is not the top of my list to recommend to you to play.
Sure.
Not because it's bad, but because I got other games that I think you should play.
Let's hear.
Even more. Okay. I have to start by praising my wife, who is also a game designer and has 2 games that she has published under our label that, again, are also on the website. You can see them. You probably already noticed them.
Yes.
Downfall and Fedora Noir. How many people are typically in your podcast? It's like 4, right?
There are 5 of us total, but we're not always all playing because of scheduling stuff.
And for this one, we had a guest, too.
Because
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Downfall is incredible. It is specifically for 3 people. So you would have to, I don't know, like, decide who you like the most amongst all of them and get them to play.
We can work on that.
Oh, it is so much fun. You will love it. I promise you will love it. If you liked Epitaph, you will like Downfall. Fedora Noir is specifically for 4 people.
And that one, I think, is right up my alley. I looked through the website and I was like, ooh, but you describe it because I'm sure, you've got more to say than me.
Oh, well, no, I mean, if you're excited about it, then that's probably plenty right there. That if you think it sounds cool, then we'll do it. Fedora Noir is make a noir film in like 2 hours. That's Fedora Noir. It is a story about, the central gimmick of the game is that it is a story about a detective and their hat. And so the characters you play are the detective, the flame, who is a romantic interest, the partner, who is a professional interest or professional partner, contact, there we go, professional contact, and the hat, which is the inner monologue of the detective. So
That's
it's the
so
voiceover
fun.
in the noir film.
Yes.
That's the hat. So two people play the same character, which maybe doesn't seem like it would work, but actually works amazingly.
But look at Tori and I.
at
We could do that.
you're doing it right now. You're playing the
Right.
same character, right?
Yeah.
Two versions. Fedora Noir is incredible. It is so much fun. We watched so many noir films. I became an expert on noir. I love noir now because of how much we watched to develop that game. I mean, Caroline gets the full credit for making this game, but I was there too, and I helped think about it and come up with the concepts of how does this work? How can we tell a story? Ultimately, it's not a game about a mystery. You love mysteries, right? But sorry to tell you, this is a story about the detective. The mystery is kind of secondary. If you never solve it, that's totally fine. Like, it doesn't really matter. So,
Who came up with the name?
Fedora Noir.
So fun to say.
Is actually Morgan Stinson, the other person credited on the box.
Yay.
Yay.
Morgan is a very dear friend of ours. We've known him, came to our wedding, like we've known him ages and ages and ages. Him and his wife are great. And Morgan came up with, and I'm going to sidebar into Fedora Noir for 5 seconds. The original game that Morgan came up with was so much fun. It was also like, ultimately turned out to be half-baked, to his own admission, right? He's like, I didn't finish this game. But in the original version of Fedora Noir, you had these props that you could pick up. So there was a gun, there was a glass of whiskey, there was a hat that you would put on, and there was like a cigarette pack. And each prop did something different. So like, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was like, I think it was like the cigarette made, like when you're smoking, other characters can't talk or something like that. And like when you're drinking, the hat has to shut up. It was like all these different ways to like interact with the other players. When you have the gun, it means somebody comes into the scene with a gun and like action escalates. It was very much like this prop-based noir gameplay. It was really fun. But then, like I said, he kind of stopped development on it. And then Caroline loved that game so much. She was like, Morgan, can I finish your game for you? And he was like, sure. Yeah, great. Go for it. And then she slaved over it for several years and eventually did finish it. Fun fact, one of the character portraits in Fedora Noir, there's a bunch of characters. One of them is Morgan. Won't tell you which one, but you can make some guesses about it if you want.
Easter egg.
Anyway, yes, it's an Easter egg for sure. Okay, so aside from tooting my own horn over here, or my wife's games, I will say the secret fourth member of that weekend gaming group that I have is Ben Robbins. And if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, that's totally fine. But he is a developer of story games. I would describe him as a good friend of mine and also probably my mentor. In development, everything that I know about game development, pretty much I learned from him. He has several games, including Microscope, Kingdom, Follow, are kind of his big three. In This World is another one that I think you would probably really enjoy, although I think it'd be good for podcast content. Yeah, it's probably runs a little shorter, but honestly, they're all great. So any of his games would be excellent for you to play.
Anish, did you recognize Microscope? I just saw you light up.
Yeah, I've heard of it before. I feel like I've heard an actual play.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's been around for quite a while, and I think it is an excellent game. Are there any others I would say right out of the gate? Oh yeah, okay, I'll recommend this one to you. I got two more to tell you about, and they're both like, are they actually good for podcasting? I don't know.
Even if it's not.
Yeah.
We play games all the time.
Well, if you play them on your own, I got way more to recommend you than that. But trying to think about what might be fruitful. Okay, here we go. One game that I will recommend to you that I think would be fun for podcast is Grasping Nettles. This game is by Adam Bell, and it does have a little like a prop that you use that would be, you'd have to describe it while you're playing, but it's not particularly hard. This game is really fun for world building. It has this very compartmentalized, the prop I'm describing is like this wheel, right? And as you take your turn, you have a little token that you move around this wheel. And then when whatever space you land on, that's the thing you do. So what I like about this game is that much like Epitaph, it has this different layers of cognitive load. So the simplest thing you can make is like a location in the world, or like a character, like a person that's in the world. And all you do is just like say what the thing is, and you make a little table tent and off you go. All the way up to like scene play, all the way up to like faction, like you make a faction within this world. What's some community that exists? Or generation, that's like a huge, where you advance time forward in the world. This game's really great. This Grasping Nettles is a lot of fun. It's completely open setting. You do whatever you want. One of the most fun games I ever played of it, we made our sort of own knockoff Pokemon setting that we played in, which was great. We had the trainers, we had the scientists, we had like the bad guy team. It was wonderful. So Grasping Nettles. Another game that I will recommend to you that I would say is probably an underappreciated gem, but maybe not great for podcast, is called Mars Colony. Mars Colony is by Tim C. Koppang, Koppang. This is a game for 2 players specifically, which is why maybe it's not great for podcasting. Mars Colony is a political intrigue game where one player is this character, Kelly Perkins, who has come to Mars Colony, been sent by the Earth Coalition to Mars Colony to try to fix the problems that Mars is having. And the other player plays the governor, which is just basically the problems of Mars and all the NPCs, right? And the way this game handles its mechanical elements is really satisfying. Basically, you have these sort of points in, what is the word? It's like you start out with a bunch of points in admiration. That's it, admiration. Okay. You start with all these points in admiration. Everybody's really excited that Kelly is here. They're like, yeah, we believe in you. You've been given powers to make sweeping changes to the government and help us fix all these issues we have. And as you make attempts, you roll dice to try to solve. You describe what you're going to do, and then you roll some dice to see if you succeed. And if you succeed, great. You can keep going, and you can keep getting better and better and better, and the thing gets better and better and better. But if you fail, then you have one choice. You can either take the tokens that you are, take a token and move it over to contempt. The people see you as a failure. You are not solving their problems. Or you can keep the points and move your token to deception, where you are lying to the public about what you have done. And they believe that you have succeeded, even though you actually didn't.
That's fine.
I'll leave any real world parallels to the side if that actually sounds realistic. But this game is like so well captures the way that like leadership and politics and government work. And you can flavor it however you want. Mars Colony obviously is the default setting, but I've done great ones where like Kelly was like a religious zealot, like bringing religion to Mars. I did a great one that we did, which was like, it was magic instead. And it was like Venus Colony and everybody was wizards. Like you can do whatever you want with it. So Mars Colony. I highly recommend.
Would this be one where the 2 people playing both come empty-handed, or does one of them do more of the? Okay, very cool.
You'll want to read the book ahead. It's short. It's a very small, short book. Obviously, that's just to familiarize yourself with the procedure. But no, all of these games are no prep, GMless. You pick up and play immediately.
Good to know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love the idea of 1v1ing somebody on Mars Colony.
yeah.
All right, Tori, we'll do it.
Love it.
So before we end the interview, also, do you want to plug anything?
Anything coming up?
Yeah. I mean, you talked about the other less than 3 games, some of the other less than 3 games, which I desperately want to play more myself. But anything else that you want to plug?
You should. Fedora Noir is incredible. It's so much fun. It truly, like, it's so well designed that I've played it at a lot of gaming conventions that I've gone to with strangers, right? Just people I just met. And you open the box, it's got these beautiful cards, you lay them out, and you just start walking through, and the game takes you through everything you need. And by the end, you've told this amazing story. Like every time, it works perfectly. So once again, shout out to my wife, Caroline, for making this incredible game. You should play it for sure. Things that I'm working on. Yeah, so I have one other game that is free on the website. It's called No Boundaries. You could download it right this moment. I call it, I think of it as one of my greatest failures, not because it's a bad game, but because I made it for a contest and then failed to enter it into the contest because I forgot.
Devastating.
It's devastating. And I honestly think No Boundaries is one of the best designs I've ever come up with. So that's the sad part of it. It's a game about retail employees in a failing bookstore chain. Where you are like the low level staff at the Boundaries Books and Cafe, and the store has 1 year left before it goes bankrupt, and so it's just also you have inappropriate relationships with all of your coworkers is another element, and every quarter corporate tries some crazy new shit to try to save the company. It's a really, really fun game. You might enjoy playing that on your podcast too. I think it resonates really well with anyone who's played retail or played retail,
right.
done retail.
When I clock
will
in, I
resonate.
disassociate.
Yes,
so
that's
I'm
right.
playing the retail game.
I'm now playing retail. I am working on right now the furthest thing along. I've got like 27 games flying around in space back here, never getting done. But the one I'm closest to actually finishing is called More to Explore. And this is an archaeology-based, curiosity-based world-building game where kind of the idea is we are exploring the artifacts of a civilization that has faded away and vanished. And we work together to think about what these items are, what they were for, and that leads us into thinking about like the customs and beliefs of these people that we're learning about. And then that leads us into thinking about the values that they held. There's no characters in this game. It's not a scene play game. It's all about world building. But so far, what I like about the way that what I'm trying to accomplish with it is this using curiosity as one of the driving mechanics of the game. In that the fundamental gameplay loop is that I make a place or an object, a site or an artifact, that I describe what it's like, what it looks like, what its shape is, color, size, et cetera, but I don't get to say what it's for.
Cool.
And then it's just there on the table, and someone else can come along and say, okay, actually, this is this thing, and here is its purpose, and they describe what it's for. And that process of doing that over and over again with a bunch of different people has so far really yielded very interesting results, and this real sense of like, I want to know, I'm curious to know. So that's what I'm working on.
Love it. If you think to, when it comes out, please let us know. We'd love to plug it.
I'll hit you up.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, thank you
Shall
so
we?
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wait.
Thanks for having me on.
We had a really, really lovely time playing Epitaph. We will, oh gosh, it's soon. We're releasing the...
Next
week.
Next week, we're releasing
wow.
the first episode of it, which is the Creating the Departed, and then we have an episode for doing the timeline, and then our discussion afterwards, and then it'll be this.
Awesome.
So yeah, thank you so much. We'll send you, it was like really, really, I don't even know what the right word is. Like Tori said, we all felt grounded. It was
yes.
It was an experience. It was a profound and grounded and like wonderful shared experience for us all. So thank you for designing it. Thank you for taking the 10 years.
We less than 3'd playing it.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Perfect send off. Yes, I'm so glad you did.
Thank you to everybody listening for joining for the interview, and we will see you at a totally different table.
Wow. It was so nice to have Marc Hobbs sit at our table.
Sit at our table. No seat was missing this time.
No seat was missing. If you'd like to also sit at our table, you can engage with us in many different platforms and ways.
Yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, wherever we are chronically online, you will find us. And if you like our stuff, please check out our Patreon. You can find all of these as well as our community Discord at linktree/readplaygame. That is linktr.ee/readplaygame.
READPLAYGAME.
Okay, spelling bee.
Game. Some people think it's replay, like we do it the same.
Some people think it's replay game. Some people think it's oh gosh, there's another one that I've heard a lot of.
Replay, realize,
realize, replay the games.
Thank you so much for listening to this interview. We are thrilled to announce that the next game we are playing is actually a game we are revisiting. We are replaying a game.
Replay.
Now we are replaying replay game. We are thrilled to share that Fun will be joining us for a round 2 of Kids on Bikes.
Wait, scratch that. Reverse it.
One more time. Volume 2. You've graduated, summer break. It's time for another year. So don't miss it.
Yeah. Take this time to re-listen to that arc. You got an off week. Take the time.
Hags, have a great summer. Lila's, love you like a sister. Love you like a sibling.
What are you talking about?
That's stuff you'd put in people's yearbooks. Hags. Have a great
never
summer.
the Lilas.
You probably nobody was writing in your yearbook.
All right, goodbye.
No.
All right, we'll see y'all. We will see y'all kick flipping, sticking gum under, scribbling notes onto a different table for kids on bikes. School's back in session. 2.
It's the summer break. School's not back. Bye.